I'm going to break it down into 10 different truths that you should know about children and practice in your home. I'm going to go ahead and start with my truths. Now, after I explain the truths, I will also give you 10 practices that children need and also 10 things that parents can do based on those truths. The first truth about children is that children are young. Now, this is debatable because children aren't always young. My children, who are 23 and 24 living on their own, are still my children, but they're not young. This study is focused on children that are young and the ones that we homeschool at home. That means they're between the ages of 0 and 18. If you live in America, 18 is the age, legal age. So I'm not sure if it's different in other countries, but for America, that would be until the age of 18. Children, along with the fact that they're young, are dependent, inconsiderate, immature, and weak in a lot of different areas. I got those ideas from the definitions that I looked up. So if we believe that children are young, and we're referring to the ones that we homeschool, then so the practice that children should do is to practice the habit and love of learning. So if they're not learning at all or not making any effort to learn, then they're not doing what young children need to do. And what parents can do is to treat the children with respect because they are young. They don't have the life experience that we have. And we also need to be patient with them. So let's move on to our second truth. Our second truth is that children grow. This is probably an obvious truth, but I want to point this out because children do grow physically, intellectually, emotionally, and socially. We can't stop this process, but we can guide it. So the practice for children is to be patient when learning is hard. So the practice that children need is to be patient when learning is hard and to practice perseverance in that process. And as parents, we can encourage growth, encouraging them not to be discouraged when they can't learn and to remind them that they will learn this. It's natural for them to learn it. Now, one of the other things I think parents should do in regards to the fact that children grow and they haven't arrived at all the knowledge they need to be independent adults is to point out strengths 10 times more often than pointing out weaknesses. So for every one weakness that you point out, you should point out 10 strengths that children have. And another great way to encourage this is to offer sentimental rewards. So sometimes parents can reward their children with toys or money or food, but I think we have to consider just as likely an offering of something that is sentimental, having to do with something that they would find meaningful. Time with their parents, time going on an adventure, or even if it's a reward that is food, it could be turned into some kind of special time with a parent. The third principle or truth about children is that they need instruction. And they need an education. So one part of the definition was about children being weak in knowledge, experience, judgment, and accomplishments. Children need instruction not only in subjects like how to read or do math or to solve problems, but they also need structure and discipline to help them develop manners and habits that would help them be successful in their future life. So I think that a good practice for children in regards to the fact that they need instruction is for them to be proactive in the things they want to learn and the things that they should learn. So they should be making effort and they should be given choices, things that they're interested in also, on top of things that we as parents think are important. And so what the parent can do is provide learning activities from all subjects, kind of like I mentioned before, but to also explicitly teach children how to strengthen their weaknesses. So we don't want to just point out their weaknesses like I mentioned before, but we want to teach them how to strengthen their weaknesses. What are the procedures for strengthening their weaknesses? What things do you do to help strengthen your weaknesses? And those are the things that we want to provide for them. The fourth principle or truth about children is that children have potential. They have the ability that's born inside them already to overcome their challenges. Children naturally know what things are good and what things are beautiful and nice. They can identify bad behavior very quickly, and they see the value in kindness, because when somebody treats them with ill will, they'll be the first one to react or respond. So one of the things that children can do or practice for this principle is to be positive and to not always see the bad things that happen to them as a negative, because we can turn bad situations into a positive. It just depends on your perspective. And I would say that the parent's role in this is to model good behavior and to require your children to speak respectfully to you, because a lot of times I know I did this as a parent. When I was frustrated and something bad happened to me, I would respond in a way that was negative and sort of take it out on my kids. And the kids do the same thing. If there's something negative going on in their life, they might act out in such a way that is offensive to you. So we need to also model a good behavior and require them to be respectful as they're processing their thoughts. The fifth value or truth or principle about children is that children are precious. This is one of my favorite principles because children need to be treated with tender, loving care. I'm just as guilty as every other parent for yelling or getting short with my children, and I wish I could take back every single one of them. So if you are still a young mother, try to incorporate that in every response that you give your child. Even if it's frustrating to you, it's important to treat them with tender, loving care and not to neglect them, because children are sensitive to being neglected. They need their parents, they need attention, they need time. So they're precious. It's something that we want to value. They're someone that we want to value, I should say. I would say that the child, what they can do is to remind parents of what they need. Encourage your child to tell you what it is they need if they're bothered even by you. You know, you could say, is there something that I did to offend you or hurt you? I wouldn't want my kids to be afraid to say, Mom, would you like to change your attitude? Or can you say that differently? Or that hurt my feelings, or something like that. We want to encourage our kids to remind us how they should be treated. And we should tell them they're precious and we want to treat them with tender, loving care. Encourage your kids to remind you of that. And what we can do as parents, of course, which I might have already mentioned, we should not neglect them. We should teach them to value themselves and be independent, because if they're just too scared to say what they're thinking and to remind us of what we need to be reminded of, then they're not really practicing that independence and value or preciousness that they have. Principle number 6, or the sixth truth about children, is that children are a gift. When you receive a gift, it's like, oh, wow, that's so nice. It's so thoughtful. So the fact that you have children is a nice thing. It's supposed to be something that blesses you and makes us proud and brings us joy, and even is an example to us. My daughter, who's 23 years old, she's an example and inspiration to me, and always has, because she's so different from me. And I really appreciate that about her. So I think what children can do is demonstrate what their thoughts and desires and accomplishments are. And what parents can do is ask them what they're going through. Ask them to tell you what they think and how they feel. And really have those times where children can express themselves and really come out of their shell. The seventh truth about children is that children are relational, and they thrive on close relationship with parents, and they don't like to be provoked to anger. Children naturally want to be open and honest with their parents, and that's what they should be doing. because they are relational and we understand that. So it's important as parents that we spend fun time with our children, not just be the kind of parent that does all the right things and getting all the work done, but really having that time of fun. And I think for especially homeschool parents, it comes so natural for us to want to enjoy our children and spend time with them. And we love that part that they are relational. The 8th principle or truth about children that is valuable is that children are our progeny. They're our offspring. They come from us and they're going to pass on what we teach them. So it's important for us to model good behavior or good habits so that they can carry that on in the future. So I think what children can do based on this principle is to look for ways to change their behavior. And you as a parent can demonstrate what to say and how to think. Some of my favorite sayings as a mom in regards to helping my children change their behavior is, would you like to say that in a different way? Or I would often sit down with them outside of a negative or difficult challenging situation, and I would explain to them how they can change their behavior by what they should say instead of what they were saying. So that's one way to demonstrate for them. It's kind of like, let me show you how to handle this, and let me show you what to think and what to say, so that next time it's not so much of a struggle, because they will pass on what we teach them. Fruit does not fall far from the tree, as they say. So the 9th truth about children is that children are valuable. Now, I did mention this already a little bit, but I want to say that children are born with the ability to think and reason. They're not animals and mainly instinctual. Yes, we all have instincts, but as human beings have the ability to think and reason. Now, sometimes you might think that children don't have the ability to think and reason through a certain situation, either academically or socially or relationally. But it's always important to give children that opportunity. They hold their own unique individuality. There's nobody like them. They have great potential to do great things. They have a great ability to control themselves, to change themselves, and they have a voice. They're at liberty to speak their voice and have their own independent thoughts. Because they're valuable, we want to encourage that. So what the child can do is to model independent thought. And what the parent can do is to challenge our children to analyze and defend their ideas. Why do they think the way they think? And don't accept "I don't know" as an answer. Maybe they need time to think about it, but set up a time where you can come back to that discussion and hear what they have to say about how it happened, why it happened, what were the things that happened around them that caused that to happen. What response did they have? What response could they have had? What ideas do they have for solving any potential problems they might have? Taking situations from all different angles is important to remember that children are valuable. And our last truth or principle is that children are capable. And my idea behind this principle is that children can help. They can do a lot of things around the house. They can pick up trash, they can vacuum, they can clean toilets, they can do their own laundry, they can set up a table, they can wipe a table off. So not to underestimate ways that our children can help. And also children can learn and children can overcome. And we talked a lot about that already. So I would say that for this principle, what children can do is learn new things. Like maybe you want to have them practice or try out things like piano or sports, or learn new skills like tiling or window cleaning. I don't know. Something that could be useful, sewing perhaps, that could be useful to them in the future. And so that means what your job is to provide ideas and opportunities for them to try new things. And a lot of times homeschool parents are naturally that way. They want to enroll their kids in all kinds of different activities to see what they're good at. So if you're already doing that, then you're living by this principle. So I just want to end this session by saying that we need to get away from the idea that children are a burden and they're inconvenient and they're scary. A lot of times people say, oh, just wait until they become teenagers. And I rejected that comment the first time I heard it, because I was like thinking to myself, when my kids get to be teenagers, I want to be one of their close friends. I don't want it to be scary, and it's not scary to me. I'm going to embrace it and learn about it and figure out how to best reach my teenagers. I just encourage all of you that in order to make homeschooling successful, we're going to keep in mind that our children are young, they're still growing, they need instruction, they have potential, they're precious, they're a gift, they are relational, they are our progeny, they are valuable, and they are capable.